now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can also subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also, download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And again, watch the interview on YouTube and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with a true major leaguer, not just from the movie Major League, which came out in 1989, but a true major leaguer that pitched for the Milwaukee Brewers for about a few years. He went on to be in Major League, where he was known as a Duke, and he also runs a baseball, softball academy, also a coach in Wisconsin, and he likes to talk about the 30th anniversary of the classic movie Major League. And of course, we're into baseball season. Pennant races are heating up, and just a good time to talk about this and bring back a wonderful classic. And ladies and gentlemen, live from beautiful Wisconsin, the ultimate major leaguer of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Duke. Yes, Willie Mueller. Willie, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So you've been with the Milwaukee Brewers for a few years, and you had a pretty good outing with them as well too. And not only you've pitched for the Brewers, you also have been in the movie Major League, which I'm sure you love to talk about. It's the 30th anniversary, and also you're also a coach as well too. Coaching baseball. You also run an academy. But first, before we can get into all that, tell us how you got started.
Okay. Well, me for my baseball career, I was 17, and got picked up when I was out of high school. Went to the Brewers right off the get-go. A little thing I always tell the kids, because boys grow a little different than the regular girls. So I signed at 17 years old. I was 6 foot 181. I signed in July because we play summer ball, and then when I got back, from September to February, I had a lot of pain in my back and shoulders and everything like that. I reported to spring training the next year. I was 6'4" and a half, 232. And I threw the ball at 89 miles an hour in my senior year. And then when I got back to the Brewers, it was 93, 95. So just how boys grow, and I just got a growth spurt and just blossomed. So
amazing. And of course, you can just, if you can also tell us about some of your memorable games. You appear with the Brewers, and you also had a record of 1-0. And how'd you get that win, by the way?
Well, the win was kind of cool because I was at home, and I came in against Cleveland at the time, and we were down a couple runs, and they brought in Kern, which was their big relief guy. And Cecil Cooper had a bases-loaded double to the corner on the bottom of the ninth to win 4-3. So I got it sitting on the bench. I pitched 3 innings or no-hit ball or whatever, or one-hit ball. I think Kubiak got one on hit. I got a hit off me. And he was from Wisconsin, too, so he was a Wisconsin guy. Got a hit off me. But I shut him down, and we got lucky enough to get Kern, which was a top reliever for Major Leagues at that time. And Koopy hit a ball to the corner in left field with bases loaded and gave me a win.
That is amazing too, and of course, you have been at the time under George Bamberger and Buck Rogers. And what was it like being under those two managers?
Well, George I loved because I picked him up and brought him to the park when I got called up because he lived out in my area. Me and Buck didn't always see eye to eye, but I got to know Harvey Keene pretty well. So Harvey was the next one after Buck. Buck only was there for a year and a half, and then he was gone. But George was a Baltimore guy, and he was a down-to-earth older man, and he just loved people, and if he played hard, he did well, and he stick behind him. And the guy that always knows that real good is Gorman Thomas. Gorman Thomas was a guy that was bounced around, and Bambi took him under his wing, and Gorman had very successful years at the big leagues with the Milwaukee Brewers. So
that's amazing, too. And also, you also had on the team Robin Yount, you had Paul Molitor, Jim Gantner, and Cecil Cooper, as you had mentioned as well, too. Sal Bando, coming from the Oakland A's, was also huge as well, too. So you had some really good players at the time. And, who'd you manage to enjoy, and who you, just kind of, didn't see eye to eye with?
Well, there wasn't too many people, but Lascano was a kind of guy, Cisco, that didn't kind of played for himself, but he went in a trade when we got Fingers, Vuckovich, and Teddy Simmons, and he went over with Dave LaPointe. So we lost him, but usually back in the day in the late 70s, early 80s, the Brewers are pretty tough. I mean, we got along with everybody. It was more like a softball team nowadays because everybody's just stuck together. If we went on the road and we wanted to see a movie, about 20 guys went to see the movie, because back in them days there was no cell phones, there was no computers, there was no cable. So the only way to bond with people is you went out and did stuff. So
that is something as well too. And of course, besides playing in County Stadium, and what do you consider your favorite ballparks playing on the road?
Well, my favorite ballpark would be the one I got called up when I got called up in the big leagues. I was playing in Holyoke in Double-A. Harry Dalton came and looked at me and said, you take a ride with me, we're going to go to Boston. I threw there that one night, and he said to me, he said, well, we're going to hold you over, we'll put you in a hotel room. And I said, I don't have none of my clothes. And he said, well, don't worry about your clothes, we'll get you some toothpaste and stuff like that, and we're going to have you throw tomorrow again. And then that tomorrow came, and they said, well, they pulled me in and had Moose Haas and a lot of the guys I knew already, and because I played ball with them, and they said, you're going to be signed to the Major League contract, and I almost fainted. And I got to pitch that night in Boston. So.
Okay. And also, too, since you pitched in Boston as well, too, you can tell us, how you did and what was like, and, just being at the Green Monster.
Well, it's funny now because as you get older and you look back and you said, well, who do I face? I faced Boston, but at the time I was just a young kid playing baseball and just trying to get, but I look at the rosters, Harry Yastrzemski, Freddie Lynn, Jimmy Rice, Dwight Evans, Carlton Fisk, Burleson, Butch Hobson, they had a pretty good team. And I struck out 4 the first night. I gave up a 2-run dinger to Jimmy Rice in the bottom of the 8th. And I struck out 4, didn't walk anybody, and gave up 2 hits. So it was a good outing for me, but it was different being in Fenway.
That is amazing too, and of course you also pitched and appeared in 6 games as well too, and you beat Cleveland for your only win by sitting on the bench. You debuted against Boston, and who are some other teams that you went up against? What was like memorable and maybe something you could just forget?
Well, we were in the American League then, and Rod Crew I went against, Kenny Singleton from Baltimore. You looked at all the guys now, and at the time, when you play ball, they're just another ball player over there. They're good, so you always remember that. But when you get older and you see what that person did in their career, you're going, "Holy Christmas!" That was a very good person, a very good team. And when you as a ball player, what happens sometimes is when your season ends or your baseball life ends, it seems like you let people down, and you have a bitter taste in your mouth, and like you left yourself down. But then if you sit back and you get older and you think, holy Jesus, I did make the major leagues. I did get a win. Kudos for me, because there's a lot of kids that I watch now that heart and soul are in it, and they think they're pretty good, and then they never get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And you also see that as well, too, with injuries and, putting so much stress and effort and everything else. And, of course, like with today's players and everything else, I'm sure you had a comparison as well, too. We'll get to more of that, and we'll talk about the other major league you're in. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. Powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can also check our Facebook page, facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, watch the interview on YouTube and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on YouTube and take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with one-time baseball pitcher of the Milwaukee Brewers and played the Duke in Major League, starring Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Rene Russo. Also feature Corbin Benson, Wesley Snipes as Willie May Hayes, and Steve Uecker, one-time LA Dodger catcher, was in there. And, of course, the Bob Uecker himself. And, of course, before we talk about Major League, what was it like being around Bob Uecker, by the way, with the Milwaukee Brewers?
Well, I had, when we did the movie, I already had quite a few years with Bob Uecker because he was our announcer for the Brewers, so I knew Ueck very well. And in fact, now if we even go to the ballpark with Ueck being in the low 80s, he always remembers all the late 70s, early 80s guy because he was pretty young then, and he really got hooked up in what we were doing, and very good friend. So I always go and say hi to when I go to the games and talk a little bit. And every time I go there, he always says, well, then he always puts on the radio, well, the Duke is in the house, because he always laughed about that. So,
and you're best known as being the Duke in Major League. That's one of my favorite baseball films. And of course, I mean, I just still get a kick out of it. You try to throw at your son in that movie, and and of course, yeah. what was it like just trying to throw at your son in that one as well too, especially being a reliever by your standards?
Well, you know, it's a funny way that I got that though, because I figured that'd be one of the questions you would ask me. But I just got done with my baseball career. It was kind of funny because you know, I have a bunch of friends that are kind of goofy friends back in that day. And they would say, well, somebody would call and say, hey, they need another pitcher down at County Stadium. Would you like to go down there and do the movie? And I'm kind of like, oh, you know, kind of buzzing them off, you know, whatever. So one night, like at 9 o'clock at night, phone rings, and he says, I'm Mr. David Ward. I'm doing the movie Major League, and I did the movie Sting. And I'm trying to figure out I can't get a grip on the voice. I don't know who this is. So I was kind of rude to him, and he finally said after about a minute, he says, Mr. Miller, you don't believe I'm David Ward? I said, no, if you are, I apologize. And he said, well, I am. And I said, well, tell me how you got my name and see if I can believe it. And he said, well, we were doing the screenplay early, and we had an actor doing the Duke. And I said, really? And he said, he can't throw the ball at all. He looks really bad. And I said to Pete Vuckovich, who I played ball with at the Brewers, he was the first baseman. He said, you know anybody real big and ugly that can throw the ball pretty hard? And he said, try Willie Mueller out of West Bend. So I said, oh, okay. I said, now I believe you, because that was something Pete Vuckovich was saying. So I went down there, and he said he loved me and chopped me up on my beard a little bit and put a belly burner on, and away I went. So.
And it's ironic, you're pitching for the so-called Cleveland Indians. That was the last team you beat, and that was your only win. And it was so ironic that you had as the Cleveland Indians. It was just amazing. I think it was just set up for a good reason. I have to say that.
Yeah, well, things fell in the line. I mean, it was a good deal. At first, I was kind of skeptic, but as things went, and you know, you work real hard to be a professional ball player, but now I've known when I do all my camps and I do, you know, the Major League Baseball camps and everything, everybody says I'm the Duke. So I guess it turned out pretty well.
I think it sounds like that's a good reason for people to come to camp. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And, of course, the movie starring Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Rene Russo, Corbin Benson, Wesley Snipes as Willie Mays Hayes. What's it like being around those actors on the set for Major League?
Well, Charlie Sheen was off the hook because he was quite young then, and you know how Charlie Sheen's reputation is. Mm-hmm. And Pete Vuckovich ran a place over here called Serb Hall, and Serb Hall, he ran it, so we would always film from 6 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning. And after that, we would always go to Pete's hangout, and we would have a couple Bloody Marys like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning and just talk about stuff. and Charlie never missed, and Tom Berenger never missed, and Wesley never missed, and Reynoso never missed. The guy that I didn't really like on the whole deal, and he's a good guy, but at that time was Gorman Bernstein, and he was kind of like, he would yell, I need water, I need my chair dusted off, and he'd be screaming and yelling for people to go do stuff like that. But it was a great bunch of people. Had a lot of fun with them.
I'm thinking, chair dusted off? Seriously? If you try to do that in Milwaukee Brewers, you probably get laughed off the team, I'll tell you that. Hey, I want my chair dusted off!
He didn't. He wouldn't have fared too well.
But, my goodness! You know what? I'm sitting in a chair right now. I could have yelled to my wife or one of my kids and say, "Hey, I want my chair dusted off," when I could just easily do it myself or just deal with the dust. I mean, when he told me that, I'm like, I'm just blown away. Chair dusting off? It's like, come on.
Yep, that's the way it was.
Oh, my goodness. But then in the movie Wesley Snipes, before he got famous with Willie Mays Hayes, and I guess you can just maybe tell a little bit about him. It's like, who expected Wesley Snipes to be this popular all of a sudden, especially being in a minor role in Major League?
Yeah, well, that was one of his first casts that he really got into, and he said he played a little baseball, and of course, another thing, if you watch the movie, Charlie Sheen actually pitched when he was younger. Mm-hmm. Charlie Sheen was pretty good as far as an athlete. The guy that was kind of bad on it was Tom Berenger, because they had to take him to Mexico, what Uecker did, and try to teach him how to catch. But he was a hoot, because he said, I don't have no athletic thing in my body at all, but I'm just listening to you guys. So funny story with him is Wesley was sitting around there, and we were throwing balls, in the scene where he points up and I dust him off. He didn't want to do that, and I said, well, why? He said, well, I don't want to get hit by your fastball, Willie. And I said, I'm not going to hit you. He says, I don't like that, Willie. I said, Tom, I will not hit you. I'll come close, but I will not hit you. So that was a long time, because they were going to use a double, and decided, no, Tom said he was going to try it, but if you watch the movie, by the time he even get the ball to home plate, he's already on the deck. So, so he was definitely afraid of the ball.
Oh, my goodness. And of course, also reading, too, that a good portion of the celebrities had to go to baseball camp to learn how to play baseball. So isn't that something, like you said, Tom Berenger hardly played baseball, but Charlie Sheen being a good pitcher. And don't you wish maybe Charlie Sheen could have been good in the majors, maybe play for the Brewers or Indians maybe or something?
Well, I don't know how far that would have been, because he did say, when he told me a long time ago when we were doing the movie, that he went to college. And I don't exactly remember what college he went to, but he said he threw a ball 83, 85 miles an hour, which is pretty decent for a high school or a first-year college kid. So, there wasn't too much of mechanical stuff that we had to do with him. So, you could tell that he played baseball in his younger years. So,
mm-hmm. Yep. And of course, too, he went on to other things as well, too. We'll talk a little bit more about the movie as well, too. We'll also talk about after Major League and why it's still popular. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can also check our Facebook page, Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, watch the interview on YouTube and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on YouTube, and take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with former big league pitcher of the Milwaukee Brewers, Willie Mueller. He played the Duke in Major League, starring Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Rene Russo, Corbin Benson, and a young Wesley Snipes as Willie Mae Hayes. Currently celebrating its 30th anniversary, of course, being out in that summer with Major League, one of the funniest comedies, playing the Duke as well, too. And, of course, I just love to watch again after this, talking about the baseball with the Duke here. And, just a few more things about Major League. When you first got into the movie Major League, what are the expectations of the movie? Were they expected to be like a big hit? Would it do okay? Or would it be like maybe it might tank? What are some of the thoughts on Major League? How would it do?
Well, when I first came down there, because this is all new to me, and and the people that all started that all were movie actors, and they were in the movie guild or whatever, the acting union. I was just like me and Pete Vuckovich there. We were ball players with Uecker, and we're kind of just standing there looking at some of the stuff, and it seemed like some of the stuff was pretty good, and some of the other stuff, like carrying the bat around, and which you never did in major leagues because you would have got your hind end handed to you. Mm-hmm. But we were down there for 3-4 months, and sometimes we didn't do nothing for the night. We sat there with certain things, waiting for whatever scene they wanted to do, and we thought it was a good movie, but I never thought it would take off this long and stay syndicated and go to cable and just continuously every time it plays. And somebody calls me and said, "Oh, guess what? I'm watching again." And I said, "I know, and I bet I lose on a bunt." So everybody laughs because I lose on a bunt in the infield. So.
and of course, 30 years they still recognize you at the Duke. It's like it's got to be something. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's amazing how that is, but they remember, so that's cool.
And now then a movie Major League 2, which came out about 5 years later in 1994. And what were your thoughts on Major League 2?
Well, I started a pretty good job then, and they asked me if I wanted to come down and just didn't work into the mix that I had going. I had a very good job that I didn't want to lose, and to take off 3-4 months and work at night and try to do a day job, it just wasn't feasible. So I told them I just really couldn't do that. So
it was more of a thanks but no thanks, but thanks for the memories, in other words.
Well, yes, because I didn't. If you really look at me, I'm not an actor or whatever. I'm a baseball player, and I thank God that they gave me the opportunity to do that, because it turned out to be very special in my life and in my family's life and my friend's life. So it was a very nice thing for me.
And of course, Charlie Sheen once upon a time said on the Today Show, "The Duke is winning at life." When discussing installment Major League, the Duke is winning at life.
Yeah, well, I used to be in contact with him every now and then, but it's been a while since I've heard from him. So we're all winning in life the way things look right now.
Uh-huh. And of course, especially being 2.5 Men and whatever else. And let's talk about, after Major League and you continue baseball. You're the pitching coach at Concordia University, Wisconsin. Just tell us how you got on board on that and how the teams are doing and everything.
Well, you look as your baseball age gets older, the windows of opportunity to play are gone because it's a young man's sport. And so you look how to get back to the game, and I love coaching. I love seeing kids, and each level of kid is harder to coach. When you got little, it's got to be patience. If you got high schools, patience and attitude and structure. And college, well, they're close to almost being professionals. I mean, they might be drafted, so it's a little harder, a little different coaching, which I like better because sometimes I'm a little grumpy at a few things. But anyways, yeah, I got that. A good friend of mine, Doug Conring, he was a coach there and asked me to become a pitching coach, him and Val Kuiper, and loved it. A lot of time away, double headers on weekends, both days, 4 games on a weekend, a couple of games during the week. So it's a drain. I mean, I ain't ready to doing a regular job yet. It's not something that I just did. It was just part-time. So it was taxing.
Mm-hmm. And who are some of the famous players that came out of Concordia, Wisconsin, or got close to Major League level, like, say, played a few games in Major League?
Well, there's guys in the minor league system, but there's nobody that made the major leagues, but because it's a Division III ball, not a Division I. But we had a lot of All-Americans, Johnny Ola, Danny Shea. We had some good ball players that came through and did very, very well, but it's a hard thing. A guy don't realize. I think we just did a camp up in Fenimore, and they said how many people played Major League since it's been in existence, the Major League level. I think it's 13,000 guys for Major League life. You know what I'm saying? Playing in the Major Leagues, only 13,000 people's played in the Major Leagues. So you put that in perspective. Like, it's hard to get there. Mm-hmm. It's hard. I guess the phrase that was used the other day, it's easy to get there, it's hard to stay. How's that?
Right. I think that makes sense as well, too. And what do you think about today's players as well, too, like being in Major League? Do you think they have that cherish that honor being Major League? Do they take it for granted, or is there some complaining that goes on? Like with today's players, the players you play with back in the day are just very thankful to be in the majors, and today's players, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm a baseball guy, but I made the majors in '78. I made $27,500, and then the next year was $32,500. That's for the whole season. Now my nephew Ryan, which is my sister's boy, he made the major leagues and was with the San Francisco Giants, won the World Series, and minimum salary then was $3,400 a day. So in 21 days, he tripled my salary.
Oh my goodness!
I think the baseball players now have so much money. I mean, $40 million or $30 million for 1 year for a ball player turns out to be $152,000 a day, damn near. I don't think there's too many people worth that.
I bet it is, and of course, some of the thoughts that came to my mind. I talked to a few, key baseball guys as well, like Ron Rabinovich, Mike Schultz, and quite a few others as well too. And the question that was brought about was, what do you think about the three players? Like Manny Machado, 10 years, $300 million. And then that was topped a month or two later by Bryce Harper signing with the Phillies at 13 years at 335, and then Mike Trout, the Angels, was it 15 or 14 at 450 million. I mean, what are your serious thoughts on that one?
Well, nobody's worth that. Let's just put that way. But here's the deal. I mean, if somebody's willing to pay you that kind of money, then I guess I would have to take it. But if the owners would get together a little bit and say, hey, we got to calm down just a tad, because where does it stop? Out of the three ball players you named, Mike Trout is undoubtedly the best ball player there is right now because of his defensive skills, his offensive skills, and just the type of person he is compared to Machado. I'm not too big on him.
Right.
Because what he did with the Brewers, and just like another guy, Pugh, that just got traded this year, today to, I think went back to Cleveland. He got in a fight last night. After he got traded, he got in a fight with the Pittsburgh
Pirates. Yes,
Pirates. So the ball players nowadays, there's no togetherness. It's all money, in my mind.
Yeah, I could see that too. And Puig got off to a really slow start with Cincinnati and getting booed, and he was batting .250, but he was on a hot streak and getting traded like that. But the Cincinnati Reds, it may have been last place, but just only 6 games back. And of course, with your Brewers and the Cubs and Cardinals, they're all jammed up for first place. And last time that happened, maybe just a few years ago. I mean, it's just gotten so diverse and so equal in baseball. It's almost like you really don't have any dominant squad unless you pour in a huge amount of money, like the Yankees, Red Sox, or even the Angels with Pujols at $100 million starting things off. The Dodgers and of all teams. Well,
that comes to the big markets. I looked at the TV revenue and radio revenue. The Brewers are 26th out of the teams. I mean, their portion of their what they get for cable and stuff. But I mean, they're drawing very well, but they can't compete to New York or L.A. or some of the big, or Ted Turner, Atlanta back in the day. I mean, too much money. And what happens with that is what the people want is parity. The leagues want parity because it's supposed to have more fan interest. This is great for the Midwest, because you got 3 teams all neck and neck, and we're going to August 1st. You know what I'm saying? And anybody's ball game, and they all play each other at the end. So.
And of course, too, noticing last year they came within 1 game of knocking off the LA Dodgers to go to the World Series, and it just had to be heartbreaking. But it was just like, they were just so close and so far away. They added last year Mike Moustakas from the Kansas City Royals, and then, of course, Ryan Braun signed to a pretty good contract. They added Orlando Arcia from the Minnesota Twins, and Yelich MVP, and trying to keep up. So I guess your thought on the Milwaukee Brewers, and what do you think the chances are of going deep in the playoffs, maybe World Series?
Well, the thing about that, you play 162 games, and right now there's a 3-way tie for first and August 1st. And it's like anything else. It's kind of like the thing, try to get hot, get into the playoffs, and don't lose your last game. And we'll see what team does that. I mean, the Brewers last year got hot, and they crept up and they tied the Cubs. They beat the Cubs in for the playoff game to get in, and they went all the way to one game before going to the World Series. So it all depends on how, that thing a long time ago, and you talked about a guy that I had, and it was an amazing fact to me, was George Bamberger, and he sat us all down in spring training. He says, we got 162 games, and then that's a third of them games, which is 54, we're going to win because we're just going to win. It's just our night. Everything's going to fall. And the other third is going to be another 54 games. We're going to lose. It's going to be our bad. Them guys are going to be lucky. But the other 54 games comes down to, can we win the one-run ball games? Can we pitch out of jams? Can we get the guy over? Can we hit the home run to win? And if we can win 108 or some of that 54 and be in the 90s, we'll be in the playoffs. And that's a good way of looking at it, because everybody looks at the worst team last year. They won 52 games. So they're professional too, even though nobody considers them like the Baltimore Orioles ain't doing real well, but they're in the 30 wins already. So, right. And they're in last place. So.
And of course too, they, some teams, somebody wonder who's going to be the team that's going to lose 120 games, just like the New York Mets. The Baltimore Orioles were very close, but doing a little bit better than last year. Detroit Tigers, they've won just 31 games so far, and that there could be a possible contender of losing 122. So, of course, it's youth and everything else just rebuilding. I think a lot of people have to take that in consideration. And Baltimore, they're still rebuilding, just like almost most of the teams are at the bottom or wherever else.
Well, you look at Detroit, since you brought it up. Detroit's in big trouble because of the financial of the city, of all the stuff happening there. There's not many people that go to the game. You know what I'm saying? And it plays into a lot of things. I think they're almost last in TV revenue, but that's just the way things go. I mean, LA is always LA. I mean, New York's always New York. It's Steinbrenner. You always had guys like that just had money, and they didn't care. And the fact that a long time ago, Hernandez for the Florida Marlins buys a team and gets yelled at because he went way over the cap, wins the World Series, and disbands the team the next year just because he wanted to win a World Series. So that ain't good.
Right, and remember that as well, too, where it's like, they buy all the players and win the World Series and get rid of them, and then you got, of course, a former Yankee running the show and getting criticized for rebuilding. And, of course, like with the Milwaukee Brewers as well, too. I remember in 1982 when they came close to beating the St. Louis Cardinals, and, of course, Milwaukee's in the American League. It was just, one game away, whatever it was, and I guess just some of the thoughts that, that season, what they could have done and, everything else.
Well, the 82 deal, I was on as an extra ball player, but, I mean, we were 3-2 up, 3-2 going into St. Louis. The Game 6 was very tight, could have went either way. We didn't get the call or didn't get the right hit. They beat us. Game 7 wasn't much of a game. We were out of it pretty quick. And it wasn't really a contested ball game. So it's hard because you work so hard to get there, and you're one game away and you almost can taste it. And next thing you know, that you can't taste nothing no more.
And of course, this leads as well to the Baseball and Softball Academy you help run. It's called the RBI Baseball, and bringing up future players, potential players who just want to hone up the skills. And it's a 5,000 square foot indoor facility, and you're part of it as well, too. And first of all, you can just tell us about the Academy.
Well, the Academy is a great place because, as of course, if you're in the Midwest, come wintertime, there's not much stuff you can do outside. And so it has 4 hitting cages. It has a dirt mound, a major league dirt mound in it, which is huge for me as a pitching coach because a dirt mound, I can find out where the kids land, how they're striding, if they're slipping, or there's a lot of things, almost like tracking an animal, where they're going. And so it's very helpful for me because when you throw on carpet, I can't see where you landed. I can't see where your feet hit the dirt or tore up. So we do a lot of that, and it's really it's cold out. You go there and you have time slots, and you work half hours with each. You break them down. Each guy comes in, they want to do a half hour. They usually do about, I'd say, if they're pitchers, they do 20 pitching and 10 hitting, and if they're the opposite way, they'll do about 15 or 20 hitting and 10 pitching, and just work on your skills. For pitching during that time of season, you don't really want to throw the ball hard. You're just working on mechanics. You're working on balance points. You're working on release points and stuff like that. And you also offer camps and clinics as well, too, for all ages, and also
private lessons. You can just tell us a little more about that.
Well, the lessons and the teaching, and of course, Mike, the hardest thing is boys are boys. I mean, if you're a 10, 11-year-old boy, how much do you retain? How much do you listen? So technically, we always have to make sure the parents come, and we're technically teaching the parents until the boy gets to an age where he gets real hungry, like 15, 16, he starts to understand what we're trying to say. Otherwise, young boys, they're just there. They're happy because they're doing something. You tell them something, but the parents hear it, and they work with them. And that's what really helps the boys, meaning they might have a half hour with me, but they'll go home with the stuff I gave them, and they'll work for maybe 2 weeks on that. And all of a sudden they come back, and they got that pretty well honed down.
Mm-hmm. That is amazing too. And when are the next camps and clinics that you have, or do you just have them on a year-round basis?
Well, not at the RBI. I just did the Roberto Clemente camp in Milwaukee, and we have 2 inner city camps coming up, one on Sunday the 4th and one on Monday the 5th through the Major League Baseball Players Association. I did a camp in Fenimore, and I did a camp that's going to be done in Rubicon. So there's a lot of camps coming up. Right now it's real heavy because if you're a ball player, football is going to be starting here pretty soon as far as the practicing. So they'll play fall ball, so they want to do some stuff in fall ball, learn what they can do in fall ball, because fall ball is fall ball. Fall ball is intended to work on things that you don't do in the regular season, because it doesn't make no difference if you win or lose. You're trying things out in the game and game situation. So there's quite a few right now, but once the November comes around, or late October, and then that goes indoors.
Okay. And that's year-round, and just tell everybody where it's at, and also the website as well, too. Get more information.
Right. It's always on RBI's on the web for camps and clinics. And we do a lot of nice stuff. And the thing that people don't understand is it's kind of like raising kids. I mean, if you get a ball player in, a kid that's 7 or 8 already, that's perfect. You might not think it's good, but it is, because you're going to teach them the right mechanics already, and tell him by the time he gets strong what he needs to do and how to do it already, and you'll have a pretty good fundamental down. It's like when you have kids coming in at 16, 17 and their mechanics are bad, it takes a long time for that muscle memory to get out of there to get them back to where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is amazing too. We can you can just tell us more about later on as well too. Of course, you've obviously been around baseball, and who are some of your favorite players growing up as well too, along with the managers?
Well, the managers would be George Bamberger and Harvey Keene, and they had a lot of great ones in minor league. Philippe Lou was mine for 2 years, which is a very outstanding ball player with the Lou brothers. My ball players, I was real strong with the Brewers, and Paul Mauder was my roommate. I see Gorman all the time. He's in Wisconsin. Robin's back for a MAC fund for the cancer. Paulie's back. Cecil Cooper. Pete Ladd. We got a lot of guys that stayed in the area. Jimmy Gantner, Gumball. So I see quite a bit of them, but people realize, we're getting into the mid-60s. Some people are almost 70. It's getting down the old, we're getting there. We're getting to be dinosaurs pretty soon.
Oh, my gosh. I have to say, you, me, both, and everything else with a traditional baseball fan, I have to tell you that, but we got to keep the game fun, not focus on cell phones, money, agents, or anything. It's like, it's up to us to keep the game fun.
Well, I think the game will turn around. I don't like the way it's going now. I don't like more strikeouts than hits in the league. I don't like the ball flying, but everybody wants offense. It's almost like football. I mean, nobody wants to see a 10-3 game, but they love that 45-48 game.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or just loving like the 80-yard bomb instead of just like a 17-yard slant up the middle as well too, or just like a 30-yard field goal just to accomplish perfect. Just that sort of thing.
Yeah, in the traditional baseball, you don't see no hit and runs anymore. You don't see too many steals. The shift's on. If somebody tries a bunt, they got the shift to get mad. They're not paid to do that. They want to see if they can hit the ball. So, I mean, how boring is if you got, like last year in the major league level, there was more strikeouts than hits in the entire league. I mean, that's absurd. It's terrible. So
I was talking about that the other day, too, and everybody just wants to hit that home run. And it's just like, whatever happened to making contact? And you brought up a really good fact about the art of the stolen base is gone. And why do you see that, the stolen base not being used on a regular basis, especially if it's a simple second base steal, attempt third, or even like a steal home? It's like, how come the steals aren't being used anymore?
Well, it's just because everybody thinks the ballparks are smaller, the ball is flying. Let's just hit home runs. We don't have to worry about him getting thrown out. Let's somebody hit a home run and get us 2-run dinger. But the thing about that is, you look like Ricky Henderson. Nobody's going to beat that stolen base because nobody steals. And the shift's always on. And defense indifference, meaning, okay, I stole the base back in the day. Ricky Henderson got that base now. Well, they don't give him that base because they weren't really holding him on and nobody made a throw. So they said, well, defense, they won't do that. So they're indifferent. So they don't give him the base. So, I mean, a lot of the records that the stuff had, some of that's never going to be beat.
Mm-hmm. And of course, with the Minnesota Twins, hit it, breaking a record of over 200 home runs by All-Star break. And they're talking of, breaking a record of 236 by the Texas Rangers. I think it was maybe a few years back or 10, and they're going to start chasing that, hitting the 300. And I think that was somewhere like the Yankees did it close to it. They're talking about the Minnesota Twins, hitting over 300 home runs by the time the year is over. And you say about the ball being juiced, and of course, in difference like the coaching, the bats, the swings, and everything like that. And of course, parks, numbers being up.
Yeah, there's they take all the wind out of it. There's not many parks that are open anymore. You know what I'm saying? Where like the Candlestick a long time where the wind could come in, or the Cubbies, or some of the places where the weather would just be horrendous and wind. But now everything's in a shell. The wind is knocked down. Ball seems to fly more. Parks are, I shouldn't say shorter, but shorter in certain areas, longer in other areas. And everybody plays to that strength.
Mm-hmm. And I remember being at Cubs games as well, too, especially up in the bleachers as well, too. You could feel that wind coming at you where the wind is coming in, and you think you're going to catch a home run, but then the ball just knocks it down. And, of course, you have other places, too. Like you said, Candlestick, the wind blows all over the place. And I think Cleveland Stadium was known for having wind blowing over because you have the pillars that had the gaps that just blew through it. And it was right by the lake. And Tiger Stadium was like that, too. And I'm also trying to think of others, too, which,
County Stadium was bad.
I remember, yes. I was there, just watching games, just get some cheap beers and everything else, and expecting Benny the Brewer to go down the slot. They hit a home run, but they got shut out, and I think it was like, some of the wind kicked through and everything else, and I remember that. Oh, my goodness. I was waiting for Benny the Brewer to come down, but it didn't happen.
Nope. That was all changed.
Right. And of course, with all the things you've been involved with as well, too, what do you consider your favorite projects that you worked with, and what are some more challenging ones you've been involved in?
Keeping baseball in the high school area strong, and in college to make kids be student athletes. Back in the day, real long ago, you know how that was. Kids just got to school and didn't know their name, how to write their name or none, but now everybody's forced to go to college, and they have student athletes. I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I try to work with. Get good grades, get to college. If you got good grades between 3, 5, and 4, I give you $15,000. How good a ball player? 6 here, 6 there. Here's 8 here, and so it's affordable for the kids to go to school and get a degree.
Mm-hmm. And it's also make it accessible, too, especially with all the baseball camps and everything else. And, of course, you mentioned all the memorable moments that you have. And what do you think was the most that stands out in your mind? You can mention again.
There's 2 of them.
Okay.
There's 2 of them. One's my first big league game because you work all your life to try to get to the major leagues. And then when it finally happens, you take that deep breath and say, wow, this is what it is. And then getting signed. I mean, went down to County Stadium through Boomer Scott. I don't remember George Scott. If you remember, he was. They told me to come down and throw batting practice for a tryout, and I threw batting practice to George Scott, which was a one of my heroes with Tommy Harper, all the young guys, Marty Patton, all them guys at the Brewers at the time when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So that I remember, and my parents, my family, always being where, because wherever bus we took or wherever I was, there's no cell phones. You had to try to get a payphone call, collect, and say hi to mom and dad and my brothers and sisters. So, the game has changed. Everything, you can call everybody, Instagram everybody. Back in the day, we didn't have nothing like that. I mean, it was hard. You couldn't wait to get the sporting news came out, because that was the paper that you read all the box scores in it from everybody in the minor leagues. It was just, you read it and the guy said, "Can I have it?" And then you give it to the next guy and we'll just go down the line. So stuff like that.
I remember the sporting news. I read that back in the day, and I remember those like maybe 5 or 10 guys wanted to get a hold of it, and I finally did a toss-up. He goes, "Here, first one grabs it." And I just grab it. Everybody just fights for it, and I walk away and just laugh. I remember the sporting news. That was really good. So.
Yes. I mean, that was always a good thing, and, that's simple things that we had in life at that time. So.
Uh-huh. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
I'll be my father, my dad. He was a very good ball player, taught me the game right, taught me to respect the game, which I still do now. I don't wear my hat backwards. I don't do none of that stuff. Some of my high school coach, Jim Cahoon, a lot of minor league people that really helped the guy, helped me through, like Matty Galante, John Felsky, stuff like that. And in the big leagues, of course, you had other people. You had George Bamberger, and you had, Harvey Keene and just people like that made an impact. And a lot of people don't realize, too, when I went to the Brewers, most of the Braves were done. And some of our coaches were Eddie Matthews. When Hank Aaron retired, he came back. You had Warren Spahn did pitching for us. So I didn't really give that a thought until, you get all this thing and they pass away, and with great ball players, Johnny Logan, just people like that.
That is amazing, and how far it goes back, and it's just very wonderful. And just lastly here, before I let you go, we know you're a very busy guy. What are your upcoming projects that you have, and what's your website, and how do people contact you?
Well, the big thing that's going right now is Wisconsin went into everybody went to spring ball in Wisconsin, not summer. So you know what spring is here. That starts on March 15th. A lot of snow. We are trying to fundraise, and we have a Cal Ripken Foundation is helping us. They did a matching grant of $500,000. If we would raise $500,000, they would match it. We're trying to get the high school diamond called Carl Kuss Field in West Bend done, and we got some of the money. We're starting some of that on August 19th. But any donation for the kids for high school to play on turf would be a fully turf diamond, because, I mean, when you're into March, early April here, you know what Wisconsin's got. You got a lot of snow yet and grass, and you got frost in the ground. So if you got any kind of grass, you can't play. So we did it. We're doing a turf and a whole new stadium. So that's my next project right now.
That is amazing. And what's your website, and how do people contact you?
Well, the website is to be the West Bend Baseball Association, or WBBA, and it'll be on Facebook, and they can go to that, Baseball in West Bend, and it'll come up with what we're trying to do. There's all kinds of, home runs is this amount of money, doubles are this amount of money, but any kind of help we can get for something like that would always help, and I would be appreciative of that. And
also, too, where can people find your RBI Baseball and Softball Academy?
That would be the same thing. That would be a link to the West Bend Baseball Association. Would be in the same deal. The RBI through West Bend, Baseball in West Bend would have that, and it would come up in a Facebook or an article.
Okay, and also Major League and its 30th anniversary. They can catch that on cable, and they can also rent as well too. Yeah,
I guess so, Chris. It's on cable almost every night. One cable's got it on some. If it ain't TBS or it's TNT or FX or whatever, it's always on.
Mm-hmm. And of course, everybody has to watch it at least once. Just want to say, Duke, thank you very much for your time, and it's been great. I love chatting baseball with you. We're looking forward to having you on again soon. Give us more baseball stories. Keep us up to date with your camps, academy, and everything else. And looking forward to having you on soon. It's been great.
I appreciate it, and I love talking baseball, so you can call me anytime. I love it.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. Also, become a sponsor of the program and or donate today at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of The Mike Wagner Show.